Stacy Mathis, Robert Sharp, how are you guys? Jesse Good, JP, what's up? How is everyone tonight? Just like last Saturday, more fucking snow. It never fucking stopped snowing in upstate New York. I hope you feel better, Robert Sharp. Thoughts from Rhode Island. How are you? Brian Beard, how are you? You got 6 feet up there? We got like 4. That's it. You beat us by 2 feet. But by the end of the weekend into Monday, we might have you at 6. So, haha. I'm hoping that it dies down a little because I want to. I have an idea. It's probably a stupid idea, but I want to take my snowshoes and I want to head out to where Tom Mesick disappeared and fucking go snowshoeing out there. That way we'll know if there's anything out there at that present time because of the tracks. So, Jamie, how are you? What's up, Jeb Smith? Troy, how are you, buddy? It's a very snowy night here too, my brother. Pops, how are you? Glad that you're here with us. What's up, Simone? How are you, dear? I got 3 lot lizard stories, and I actually mixed one up. So it's going to be really good. I really put some thought and effort into, well, I always do into the lot lizard stories. So, but they're fucking good tonight. I guarantee it. Severe thunderstorms. No shot. Susan of New Jersey, DEFCON 0. How are you? I'm doing well. Tyler 420. What's up? Blackie the dog. How are you? Rita. Just be. Well, thank you, Pops. Yeah, it's another beautiful night. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but if there was the light where the cop usually parks, he's not there tonight, probably because of the plow, but it's coming down at an angle. Looks like it almost looks like the snow is coming from the north, like it's a northern snow going south. I don't know if that makes any sense. What's up, Brian Mons? How are you, buddy? Alligator Horse, how are you? Video Vault, what's up? What's up, Chevy? Wesley September. Yeah, what's happening, Robert Sharp? What's your good news? You got the Brazilian butt lift? Robert Sharp got his Brazilian butt lift. Oh, shit. Picking up the kids from, the 8th grade dance. I remember 8th grade dances. I remember 8th grade dances like they were fucking so great. Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven. I think I had my first makeout session to that song. Yeah. But mine was at a 7th grade church dance. So I'm a dirty little fucker. Oh my God. My mom hated me growing up. Hated me. I think I was the only kid that got in trouble by Sister Mary Electa for making out with 2 different girls one night and getting in a fight at a church dance. My mom taught church school. My mom came to pick me up because Sister Mary Electa called her, and my mom beat me up in front of the church. She beat the shit right out of me. I was like, Mom, leave me alone. Good stuff. Big Gene throwing the power around. 59th, how are you? What's up, ATD? ATD? I am doing well. I am doing well. Thank you for asking, Claire Harris. MJ Bates, how are you? Nicholas Carroll. Mammy Hall. Zilla, what's going on? How are you? Dustin. I don't know if William here. William Ward. What's up, Andy Davis? I know you guys know William Ward from the live stream comments and stuff. He's usually here. I'm gonna share with you guys. He sent me a package. I got a package from Big Bill Ward on Valentine's Day. So he sent me these cool hats. You know, they're all veteran owned. What's up, the Wolf? So this is Mission Made, I believe the company's called, and they have Velcro, so you can put your patches on there. So I got a camo one. I got a olive green one. I got a navy colored one, which is my favorite. And he sent me a new Glock cap. But so you put these on there, the Velcro. So when in doubt, dump your mag. American flag, America. I myself like these two. Then he sent me a Victos shirt, another veteran-owned company. Victos is an amazing company. They make great stuff. Actually, I have a pair of their trainers, and for a veteran-owned company, their trainers are more comfortable than Nike. He sent me a cool ass ring. A cool ring. Check this out. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. What's up, Andy Davis? So it's got a werewolf or Dogman on it with red eyes. Very cool. Thank you. And this is immediately going into my hiking pack because I thought this thing was so cool. We got this little pack, right? Check this out. And it's a freaking seat. How cool is that? And it will literally fit in my. I got it's made by LL Bean. It's called the Game Warden bag, and it's not really big, but it's big enough. And this will fit like perfectly in one of the side pouches, the opposite side pouch that I'll put my poles in. Janie, thank you so much. What's up, Adam Condon? How are you? Danny Sanders, how are you, buddy? Janie, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. What's up, Motorboat? Winter Sky, how are you? Steve-O? Tattoo Patriot. Hokum, which one? I got a couple different portal stories on my channel. Actually, I got like probably 15, 20. Sonny, how are you tonight? Delirium? It's not letting up. It is not letting up. All right, we're going to play Name the Tune. It's Name the Tune. Here we go. I got to warm up. Okay. Name that tune. I guarantee no one will name this one. No one will name this one. SDL, how are you? Nope, not pour some sugar on me. Beastie Boys is pretty close. Randall Kennedy, what's up? It was Boys in the Hood. The dating game. Oh shit, I forgot about the dating game fucking theme song. Didn't it? Oh yeah. Brandy, how are you? Thank you. I do need to cut an album. The Hebrew horn player. The Kenny G of the Hebrew horn. We'll do sabotage later, though. We'll do a sabotage later. What's up, Lake? How are you? Mert! What's going on, Mert? How are you tonight? I have got a whole variety of crazy encounters tonight. You didn't miss anything, SDL. Nexus, how are you? All right, here we go. Now, so all these experiences are going to be like very interdimensional. Dogman. I just dug and tried to find as much or as many creepy experiences for you guys tonight. So some years ago, I was in my studio apartment in Manhattan. Some years ago, I was in my studio apartment in Miami, Florida, maybe 2015 or 16-ish. And I was trying to sleep because I had to work the next day. I wasn't tired, more so just forcing myself. When I was a kid, I would sleep with covers over my head for comfort, but as an adult, I've kind of stopped this. Anyway, this particular night, I had the covers over my head for 15 minutes, trying to fall asleep, but I was still wide awake. After 15 minutes, I had this feeling like something was behind me. It wasn't physical. It was a mental intuition. I took the covers off, turned my head, and boom, maybe like 6 inches from my face, this bluish, translucent figure was creeping over me. Its head near my head. It has 6 white eyes with no pupils. The head shape was not normal. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what is what. What? I can't remember what it was, though. After about a minute and a half of me staring at this what the fuck stare into the shape-shifting, I can't remember. That makes no sense. I can't remember. Hang on, I'm going to start it over. Some years ago, I was in my studio apartment in Miami, Florida, 2015 or 16. I was trying to sleep because I had to work the next day. I was not tired, so I was forcing myself. When I was a kid, I would sleep with covers over my head for comfort, but as an adult, I had kind of stopped. Anyway, this particular night, I had the covers over my head for about 15 minutes trying to sleep, but I was still wide awake. After 15 minutes, I had a feeling like something was behind me. It wasn't physical, it was more a mental intuition. I take the covers off, turn my head, and boom, maybe 6 inches away from my face was this bluish, translucent figure creeping over me, its head near my head. It has 6 white eyes, no pupils, and head shape was not normal. I can't remember it though. After about 1.5 seconds of me staring at it in this what the fuck stare, it shapeshifts into me, or what I think looked like me, but bald and still bluish transparent. I told my girlfriend the next day that it looked like the Silver Surfer. I got up as soon as I started movement. This thing shifts toward my hallway, so I start running after it. It looks behind while it runs, and boom, the figure vanishes or disperses through the door. I'd never seen anything like it, and after that experience, something weird did happen that was similar but not like it. Keep in mind, I was not scared at all, but I was intrigued and wanted to know why it was here. And I've never seen anything like this or believe in ghosts. I do believe in aliens or entities that defy the laws of nature. And I've always been fascinated with space, UFOs, aliens, disbanded military projects, etc. As a kid, I would read a ton of books about this. Also, want to say I was fully awake and I know what I saw. Shit was mad weird. I even turned the lights on and had a damn 10-minute convo with myself. I was literally saying, just remember you weren't sleeping. You weren't tired. You were fully awake. Never forget you saw what you actually saw. This is fucking real, as it gets. I've only told my girlfriend, and the other day I told my mom for the first time because I think other people would think I was crazy. She tells me her story of when she was 5. She saw a man made of static, TV snow. I have no choice but to believe her because of my experience. I don't really believe in ghosts. However, I believe that if the universe is so big, that it would be akin to just being part of an atom that's part of some mass. Then it would be foolish to think that we are the only intelligent life. Anyway, has anyone ever seen anything like this? What's up, Coker? Lisa Sparkman, how are you? Sunny, how are you, dear? Johnny O, Darren K, Spirit Level. What's up, Justin Jensen? Thank you, Pops. Holy shit. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. That is unbelievable. Thank you so much. I cannot believe that. What's up, Sonny? How are you? Kathy Hayes. Melinda, how are you? Yes, it is snowing. It is snowing. Tabitha, how are you? Once again, Pops, thank you. In my life, I have seen some weird things, heard some weird things like most, but I've only ever encountered shadow people one time. This occurred when I was a kid and would stay the night at my friend Corey's home. I lived in southwestern Ohio at the time. My friend's house was more in the sticks. His house was practically in the woods with a small creek behind it. Him and I would sleep in the second living room, which was more storage, really. Several times I can recall waking up in the middle of the night. I'd get the feeling like we weren't alone, and I'd notice something darker than the dark move from behind the table to the stack of boxes. When I looked in the direction, I saw 2 or 3 shadow kids darting back and forth, peeking out from behind whatever objects they were running behind. They never got too close. They always kept distance. The first time I thought I was dreaming until the next night it happened again. This time I knew it was real when I saw the same three figures started to dart around again. I had no flashlight or cell phone. We were still years off. So I was stuck there. I tried to wake my friend, but he was a deep sleeper. The next morning I told him what I had seen, and he already knew. He just said, try to ignore them. Just keep on sleeping. I ended up seeing the three figures a few more times there, only in that one room very late at night. My friend's property must have had some kind of weird energy or something. This wasn't the only weird or scary thing that happened while staying there. We also had a night where something growled and smacked the pop-up camper we were staying at. This occurred in 99 till 2002. Well, Shadow Kids and a Dogman. Nice property, fella. Nice fucking property. Shadow people are just terrifying. Juan Aguilera, how are you? Moose Bear. Wolf Moose Bear. I think the Wolf Moose Bear, I think lot lizards do wear thermal insulated duck boots so they can get their money. What's up, Shackleneck? 11. Hi, Judy Davis. Anytime I see that, I think of the Benghazi movie. Shadow people and feral. Yeah, I don't like ferals. Goatman is worse than Dogman. I don't know. Maybe. That's your opinion. I would say, Goatman, they're dangerous, but so isn't Dogman. I'm not sure. Yeah, it does mean hang loose, but they do it in the Benghazi movie too. What is it, 13 hours in Benghazi or whatever? Poppy, how are you? Poppy from Sweden. I have an experience for you, Poppy. Zilla, I'm fucking drooling on myself. Did I tell you last week I told you I broke one of my teeth? I can't wait until I get the fucking permanent real ones in. Zilla 92, thank you so much. Yeah, Goatman is all over. Let me try to find that. Because I've only had a few experiences from Sweden. Is this it? No. British Columbia. Bizarre. Ooh, that one's cool. I think it's right here. I think it is right here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, right here. All right, Poppy. This one is Aramook. What's up, big fella? How are ya? Poppy, this one is for you because you are Swedish. What's up, Tommy? Winter Sky. Because you are Swedish and I've only had a few Sweden encounters. And I found this and I thought of you. The encounter of a 19-year-old Seven Pedersen, who was taken aboard a craft by two humanoids and was shown a strange animal-like creature on board near Piteå, Sweden, March 1949. So this is a really old encounter. The witness, 19-year-old Sven Pedersen, had worked early in the morning and was cycling home from Lövholmens to Piteå. As he approached the church, he saw what he described as two ships come down from the sky to his left and hover about 20 meters away, very close to the ground. The objects resembled two deep bowls with numerous lights on the bottom. Soon a gap or opening became visible on one of the objects, and two men wearing diver-like suits and helmets and carrying what appeared to be hoses came out. Very curious, Sven stopped and thought that the men were going to perform some underwater work. He had never heard of flying saucers and had no idea what he was watching. However, the men suddenly approached Sven, and he was suddenly unable to move. At this point, he perceived a telepathic message from one of the creatures telling him not to be afraid and also asking how old he was. Wow, they're asking how old he was and they have fucking rubber hoses in their hand. Can we? Oh, buddy. Apparently, the creatures did not understand him when he said he was 19. Sven attempted to explain by counting on his fingers, but the creatures somehow arrived at the figure being 100. Before the creatures started to question Sven, they told him that they had been traveling for a long time and added they had begun their journey. It had been started by generations before them. Then they asked Sven if he wanted to go with them. He said yes, but only if he could come back home. They told him that would be impossible for him to come since he would have been long forgotten, but in their world, he would live much longer than humans on Earth and would become famous. Sven then placed his bicycle on the side of the road and was taken aboard one of the crafts. Inside, he found himself in a small chamber, and then a door opened on the wall, and he could see another room where he saw two other men wearing tight-fitting diving suits. Now he was able to see their faces of these aliens, which were similar to humans but expressionless and almost mask-like in nature. He had a strange feeling that they did not want to reveal their true features so as not to frighten him. While in this room, Sven was not able to move and felt somehow controlled by these aliens. He was able to see a sort of control panel, 70 meters by 70 or 70 centimeters by 70 centimeters, where he saw a picture of the universe. He also saw numerous other devices which apparently controlled the ship. According to Sven, he was told by the aliens their point of origin, but claims he was unable to remember it today. Moments after being shown the control panel, another entity entered the room and walked towards Sven. The other two aliens apparently tried to prevent the creature from entering the room, apparently in an effort to prevent Sven from becoming frightened. Sven, understood the creature was female, resembling nothing that he had ever seen before. The strange creature had a large pig-like snout, and on the back of its neck had a sort of mane that stood straight up, and it became shorter further down its neck. The skin was pink in color, and it had large slanted blue eyes. He was then told he should have feelings for her, but Sven was unable to, since she was not a pleasant sight to look at. Unlike the two other aliens, the female entity wanted Sven to accompany them back to their planet and stay with her. This apparently caused a conflict between the two other aliens and the bizarre female entity. Just then, orders came from the other ship that they were ready to go, but the three aliens continued to argue. However, soon there were sharper orders issued, and before he knew it, Sven was standing by his bicycle on the ground. Sven watched as the craft flew over the church and disappeared in a northwestern direction at a high speed. Confused about this experience, he then cycled home. He felt uneasy at home after arriving. He was sure that somehow there was some memory that he had suppressed by the aliens. He was convinced that at some point his clothes had been removed and he had been examined. He felt dirty inside. Source: UFO Actualit 4-85. So, Sven encountered two men wearing leather-bound suits with a rubber hose, asking him, "How old are you, Sven?" Then a pig-like woman came up to Sven, wanted Sven to come home with them. Sven got dropped off back at home and felt dirty inside. What happened? Sven got booter-butted. You're welcome, Poppy. Aramik, I was thinking the same thing. Dude, I could just picture the fucking aliens. They're like standing there, they're like with the rubber hose. How old are you, Sven? Sven's like, or he was like, oh. I felt dirty inside. Dude, you just had an enema. You should feel clean. Whoosh. What the fuck? This happened a long time ago. I was around 13 or 14 in northwestern Georgia on the corner of Alabama and Tennessee. Context, I'm 22 now. It was at my stepdad's house, which is situated down a long driveway in the woods. There is a house just ahead of his, separated by a thin veil of trees, but no other houses or buildings for a good few miles on either side, and the woods in the back go on for a good while. So it's very isolated. I had taken my Doc Jack out to pee. Rip Jack died a while back. And as I walked down the stairs of the deck with him, he stops and starts growling and whimpering toward the tree line along the right side of the house. I thought maybe there was a coyote or something, so I walked him toward the wood line to get a better view to see what he was freaked out about. And I see something just barely in sight. It stood a good 6 to 7 feet in height. It had patches of fur like mange, a short snout, very canine looking, but kind of human-like face, staring at me. I backed up, grabbed Jack, ran back up the stairs, and locked the front door behind me. I never saw it after that, and it didn't make any moves other than when it was looking at me, but it spooked me so bad I refused to go outside or even anywhere within the house by myself, to the point I was too scared to even leave my room to use the bathroom. Yeah, I had a few accidents. I know, gross, embarrassing, but I was a kid and freaked the fuck out. Now that I'm older, I've started to wonder maybe I just imagined it or maybe I misidentified, but who knows? I am now able to go outside and stuff. Now I even avidly hike and work for the State Park Service. Now, LOL, so don't worry about that, but even now I don't like being at my stepdad's house as it gives me the creeps and always feel like something is watching me. Well, it was Sven. Sven is watching you. What's up, Yvette? How are you? Sully! What's going on? I know my hair is growing back really quick. I cannot wait until it's longer. I miss it terribly. Terribly. Aramic, I have an encounter for you. What's up, Michael Turner? This one actually is for everyone. Everyone. But I thought of Aramic when I found this one. And I really dug deep to find these fuckers. I'm not sure what to call this thing. All I know is that it is nowhere near human. If I remember correctly, my first encounter with it was when I was around 10 or 12. I'm turning 20 in 4 days. It's all fuzzy. What I do remember is that at the time we were one in the state of California and two playing hide and seek outside with a few friends. For privacy's sake, we will just call them Ray and Finn. It was already pretty late, I'd say maybe 7 o'clock. It was also autumn, so the sun was practically gone by this time. It was Ray's turn to seek. Me and Finn decided to run off together since we both really didn't like the dark all that much. And phones with lights were still pretty expensive, so none of us had one. Only thing we had was one of those old shake lights that you had to shake to charge. Wow, I remember those. Anyway, it had been about 10 minutes since the round started. Ray got close, but never close enough to find us. It was funny, but for a bit until me and Finn heard it. It sounded like a low growl, like a wolf, but just deeper and more messed up, kind of like it was sort of underwater. I remember when we heard it, we both yelled and ran out running to Ray. Ray, oh, there you are, God. Why do you guys look scared? At that moment, me and Finn were pretty scared and shaken up, and we just wanted to get out of there. We kind of looked at each other in silence, then grabbed Ray by the shoulder and guided him out, not daring to look back. In honesty, the only reason I didn't look back was because I swore I could hear this thing following us. We barely got any sleep that night, especially when the house was old and just wouldn't stop making those creaking sounds you always hear at the worst possible times. I believe it was around 6 in the morning when I decided to try and get some sleep. I went and washed my face off in the bathroom. I shit you not, while washing my face, I fucking saw it behind me. The only details I could get in that moment before I freaked out was that it had blood red eyes and its body was pure black. At that point, I knew damn well that I wasn't going to be able to sleep, so I turned the TV on and just watched some cartoons for the rest of the day, trying to keep whatever I saw out of my head. Fast forward a week, and we kind of forgotten it already, out of the forest playing a game once more. It was around 7 o'clock again. I was it this time, so I held the shake light close to make sure I kept it charged. And as I wandered around looking for Ray and Finn, but instead of finding them, I found it instead, whatever it was, because of how dark it was and its black body. I could barely make out the features. Didn't help that it was looming over a dead deer eating at the carcass. It didn't care that it ate the bones as well. What I could make out with the light and because of the blood was it had a reptilian-like jaw. Not like a snake or a lizard, honestly. It was more like you'd see a dragon. Yet its teeth and the amount of them, it was uncanny. I was frozen in fear for a bit when I realized I was there. I dropped the light and ran for my life, yelling for my friends to get out as well. I thought it was following me, but it was just Ray and Finn catching up to me. We all ran inside. They tried to ask me what happened, but honestly, I was too scared to talk. Just hugging them both, glad to see them and glad they made it out of there. I did not sleep again that night as well. Honestly, I am surprised I got any sleep. I regret even laying down that night. When I woke up, I was in paralysis-like state, unable to move and struggling to breathe. Whatever I saw in the forest was right at the foot of the bed, crouching down just to fit into the room. So it had to have been at least 8 feet, if not taller. The morning light kind of revealed that I was correct about it having kind of like a dragon face. Well, dragon kind of mixed with a bit of a wolf. I could kind of hear something dripping as it slowly inched up to my bed. I was scared shitless and completely immobile. It got right above my face, its mouth slightly open, like it was going to eat me. It just sat there for an eternity, but suddenly it lunged, and I finally broke free and yelled. After a second of just screaming, I realized I was still alive and that my mom had come to check on me. Seeing how scared I was, she ran over to make sure I was okay. All I could do was sit there, shake in terror. It was kind of black like ink and quickly disappeared. From that day on, it just kept getting worse. I had horrific night terrors, constant sleep paralysis, where I would see it take many forms. Fast forward half a year, we hit our breaking point. Me, Finn, and Ray were having a sleepover at my house, just playing Minecraft since it was still new and we loved building games. It was around 4 p.m. and dinner had just gotten done when we heard it. A loud thud on the roof that slowly became scratching as low demonic growls followed the scratching. At this point, my dad had had enough and grabbed 2 guns, asking Finn to follow since he was the oldest of us 3, 15 at the time, almost 16. They went outside to see what the hell it was themselves and to see if they could kill it. It kind of started to rain a bit when they went outside. Ray and me were not allowed near the door since Dad didn't want it to be able to lunge down and take one of us. But as the minute turned almost into 20 minutes, slowly hearing them getting louder and louder, practically yelling at whatever it was. I was about to open the door when Ray pulled me away. We heard 2 gunshots, then 3 more, as my dad was yelling and screaming. After a moment, he ran inside, slammed the door closed, locking it. Finn was nowhere to be seen, and we kind of just thought of the worst since Dad did kind of have a bit of blood on him. His leg was broken as well. Bone was poking out of his lower part of his leg, which made me puke. On the spot. Dad is definitely fine now. But for Finn, we were right to think the worst because I recently learned that, yes, Finn did indeed die that day. They have yet to find his body, and Dad just has not been the same. The next day, I had to say goodbye to Ray since Dad just couldn't handle being in the house anymore, and we moved all the way to Washington as soon as we could. We have been here since, but I think it followed us. On one of my late night walks, I can sometimes hear things following me, and my dad just doesn't want to talk about it. And the only details I have gathered from my dad about this creature is that it was 9 feet in height, has dragon-like wings, a wolf/dragon-like head. Its body was dripping like ink or tar. It had spikes down its back. It's hard to talk to my dad about any other details because he has just gone down the road drinking. But honestly, I think it's back and I am scared shitless. I don't want anyone to die again, and I don't want to move anymore. I get that I didn't really see it myself. My friend dying and all, but I do still have sleep paralysis and night terrors about it. All right. Dragon and wolf-like face with wings. I do recall hearing something like similar to this a long time ago, but it was not in cryptid, like it wasn't in any cryptid studies or anything. It was, I think, in a MUFON article I had read a long time ago about Arabic. Thank you. About a group of, or not a group, like I guess a group of alien-like creatures or a civilization of alien-like creatures that were similar to draconians, but worse. I'm going to have to look for the article somewhere. Thank you, Arabic. Appreciate you, brother. Dude, it's fucking creepy. I told you I had some good ones tonight. Wiley, what's up? Happening a few deer torn apart on the sides. Wooden bridge. Davey Ward, hang on one second. I'm going to put my email in. Sounds like my ex-wife. Sounds like my ex-wife too, Dennis. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. Thank you very much. MUFON stands for, I forget what MUFON stands for. Hang on a second. I got to put my email in. I type so slow. I type like a fucking granddad. All right. My email is below SDL and above Charlie Knight. And yes, I just did a Black Eyed Kids encounter a minute ago. I got more though. What does MUFON stand for? Mutual UFO Network, a nonprofit organization that studies UFO sightings, is the world's oldest and largest UFO investigating organization. Sissy Brilly. I believe that as well. I really believe that as well. You're welcome, Susan. And I will be getting in touch with you soon. I don't say it often because the community is really, I'm used to the old community. Like if your views didn't agree with everyone else's, look at that zit right there. Can you guys see it? If your view didn't agree with everyone else's, you would literally get persecuted. And I, for a long time, have told people in private how I feel about like alien-like creatures and such. And I believe that a lot of these alien-like creatures, like the gray and the reptilian, the draconian, are demons. And I think that their portals and their way of travel are portals to hell and wherever. And the Nordic-like alien creatures are angels. All right. This encounter I experienced in the summer of 2009. I was born and raised in the plains of Texas, specifically in an area where black-eyed kid sightings are prevalent. I've heard stories, tales, and legends, whatever you want to call them, since I was a young man, but never truly believed in them. The black-eyed kids was mainly something I entertained as a joke or something to get a rise out of people. This changed the summer of 2009. It was a warm night in June. It was up late, around 2 a.m., as I typically like to stay up late, especially in the summer, since it would stay fairly warm even after the sun went down. I had just run up to the store to grab a big fountain soda and return to my house through the back door when I was approached by two kids, a boy and a girl. I was very startled once I realized that they were there, since I wasn't expecting to encounter anyone in my backyard so late. The little boy asked, "Could we come in? We need to use your phone. We are lost." This was when I noticed the blackness in their eyes. Both of them had eyes so black they were like pits. This is also when my heart sank. I couldn't believe I was actually seeing them, that they were right in front of me. As I mentioned before, I had heard the legends of black-eyed children most of my life. There's no way I was going to let these little fuckers in my house. I darted in the back door and locked it as quickly as I could. Once inside, I ran upstairs, flipped on the lights to try and see if they were still outside. Thankfully, by then, they were gone. I had so much adrenaline pumping at that point, though, that I grabbed a weapon and began searching my house, making sure the doors and windows were locked. It took me hours to fall asleep that night, and it's an encounter that will stay with me for the rest of my life. These entities took the form of something most people view as innocent, weak, mild, and try to trick unsuspecting people to do God knows what to them. I am just glad my reflexes kicked in and I was able to live to tell this. All right. I told you I went digging and I've got some crazy, crazy shit. I am not sure if this is the right place to share this experience with you guys. In 1999, I was 7 years old, playing in the woods with my friend Charlotte. We were standing at the edge of an end. We were standing at each end of a big log in the woods when I noticed movement in my peripheral. I tried focusing my peripheral to catch a detailed look. I see similar movement often when we are in the woods and always disappears, more like scatters before I turn and look. My heart skipped a beat when I could make out a group of little people looking up at me as well. I was frozen in a pose I was playing in. After a few seconds, I realized Charlotte had stopped narrating out play and was frozen in place as well, staring at me but focused on them. I'm pretty sure they were dressed because it did not look like they were naked. I could tell they knew we were aware of them, and they dispersed as Charlotte moved her eyes. We didn't talk about it until we were back at her house. We weren't afraid, just confused on our walk home. We wrote out what we saw before talking about it to see if we saw the same thing. Unfortunately, both our descriptions were so vague, but clothed less than a foot for sure. One thing we were positive of was to mind our business and not go searching, which is what our instinct would have usually been. Duh. We thought we found a colony of little people in the woods, but in fact that our reaction was to quietly leave and not talk about it until behind closed doors, and still not even talk aloud about it, but write it down. I don't remember being too frightened. In fact, we kind of just accepted it and moved on with our new taste of what this world or universe was capable of. I watched The Indian in the Cupboard later in life, which reminded me of these little people, but I no longer saw them. By then, Charlotte and I would talk about seeing things out of the corner of our eyes, but could never figure out what it was. Although Charlotte was different, her and her dad were huge hippies. Tire swing in the kitchen, no TV. And her imagination was so wildly magnificent that it made my mind radiate. I always thought that maybe her narration of our play was so powerful and energetic that we could manifest and see the same thing. Little people were never playing any parts in either of our imagination. In fact, we were both confirmed what we saw. We were kind of in awe that we never ever dreamt of tiny people on this universe. Little people. Little people. There's all right. This experience, I am going to completely destroy the pronunciation of this. But this experience actually came out of a worldwide newspaper, but not a paper. Worldwide news, but not like the Sun. This is from, anyway, you'll see. Excuse me. Residents from Segolia, Zikwani, Zaquani village are living in fear amid indications that invisible creatures suspected to be goblins have terrorized them for years, mysteriously killing their children, livestock, and destroying their crops. It is said in September last year, 2 families lost their children due to a goblin attack. Residents expressed relief after the goblin, which was claimed to have killed the children, was destroyed by prophets. However, the peace was short-lived, as it is reported that the residents are once again subjected to suspected goblins that are said to be killing several villagers' cattle. The alleged goblins strike during the night. Staying in their homesteads has become a nightmare for the community members residing in the village under Chief Segolia. Every morning, we awake to a death of our cattle. At first, we thought it was a thief, so we took turns in guarding the corrals in hope of catching the thief. It was all in vain because we never caught anyone, but every morning we found a dead cow in different homesteads. Last year, a cleansing ceremony was carried out when some kids mysteriously died, and we thought we would have peaceful lives. Right now, we don't know how we will be helped because we believe these goblins can be killed, but later on come back in full force, said a villager who preferred anonymity. Village head Mihuli Nadlovo has been spared from goblin attacks. So far, 30 cattle have been found dead in the area. I have also lost some cattle, said a sad Nudluva. He adds, I am now seeking divine and traditional interventions to exorcise the area, whether it's goblins or someone using juju. We are tired, and we want these goblins or person behind this caught. I have heard complaints that the goblin are also destroying crops. I am currently organizing funds so that I embark on a journey to Chipinge to get a powerful traditional healer. Villagers expressed concern and pled for an immediate solution before the attacks get worse. Each household is currently contributing money to pay the person who will conduct the cleansing ceremony. We hope they will do a good job and stop this terror before it gets out of hand, said a villager who only identified themselves as Macumulo. So, fucking creepy, but this is in world news. Once again, not the Sun or some other bullshit. Like, this is actually like in a world. I think that's cool. What's up, Boondock Mojo? How are you? Oh, had to do the old nut shake. What's up, outside in? Hang on, I got to get a little deeper. All right. Pops, have a good night. Thank you for your kindness and love, Pops. I appreciate you. That's a problem, Aramic. They're dangling a little too low, brother. I thought about doing the live, like, just with the t-shirt on and nut out. But knowing my luck, I would fucking stand up and everyone would see it. Aramic! Thank you so much. George Coker, actually, Ewoks do bite. In George Lucas's original writing of Return of the Jedi, the Ewok were cannibalistic fucking killers, to be honest with you. Yeah, there was actually like, there were supposed to be, why do you think they were cooking? They were going to cook Han Solo and Chewie with the spigot. Hell yes. Yeah, Mert. What's up, Stacey Lockett? How are you? I know you hear some ball claps. I start moving, like shimmying like this. My nuts are flapping on my butt cheeks. Look at the snow. 20 bucks. Just 20 bucks. Ah. Five rings. What's up, baby? Kenny G. I'm getting damn good at that fucking horn. Let me think of a good one here. All right, here we go. Fuck. That was sabotage. My dog came running in. Ugh. I'm a personal believer in Bigfoot and other supernatural things, yet I've never shared until now, of course. I don't really think this was a Bigfoot that I witnessed in this experience that I'm about to share. I'm just looking for answers anyway. This happened 4 years ago in a small town in Washington. My girlfriend, oh shit, I shared this last week. I'll share it again. My girlfriend, now ex, not that that really matters, at the time, and I decided to plan a getaway. A long weekend in a yurt, since we both love nature and going to a place far from the city in the middle of nowhere. That was fucking gross. And it truly was a good time. The thing that struck me the most about staying in that yurt was how dark and quiet it was at night, in the middle of the night. When you're not used to the wilderness, it's quite striking how silent things can be and how dark outside is when there is no light pollution involved. The shitter, where you had to go use the bathroom, was 75 yards away from the yurt, and you'd have to take a flashlight so you could navigate the darkness. First night we were there, nature called, and I went outside to find the shitter. I shined my flashlight that cut through the darkness like a lightsaber. Around, and I spotted eye shine. It was nothing more than a good-sized female deer, but I would have no idea she was there if I didn't see the eye shine with the flashlight. The actual encounter happened our last night there at approximately 11 p.m. We were playing cards inside the yurt by the fire when out of nowhere we heard a huge crash bang on the side of the yurt, almost as if something threw itself against the side of it or was running and didn't see it. Obviously startled, we wanted to see what made such a racket. It was Santa Claus. As we were in the middle of nowhere, but we were still on the property, but not very deep in the woods. So it might have been a bear or mountain lion. At least I hope not. What happens next is hard to explain. I threw open the door, shined the flashlight like I did the night prior when I saw the deer. And I saw something in the same spot, but it was different. It had no eye shine, and I only saw it for a moment. But it looked like it was white or gray. It was slender. What creeped me out about it was the way it moved. It seemed crouched down while looking in my direction, slinking away out of the frame like a big cat or monkey might. And then we never saw it again. I did not want to investigate because shit, I was scared. It might have been a cougar or something. Yeah, cougars look like a bald white fucking creature, you moron. That aside, whatever I saw was unlike anything I had ever seen before. I did not make out its face. That was a crawler. Darren K. Apparently, crawlers or cougars have two legs. Well, I mean, if you're at a bar, maybe, and you run into the Cougar of the Month Club. Cougar of the Month Club. What the fuck? All right. Here is a strange experience. This happened back in the 80s when I was between 9 and 10 years old. I was the only child at this point, and my mom was a single mom. She had taken all the money she had and bought a trailer and some land and moved out to the country. We lived in a rural area in East Texas on a 2-acre tract of land. Houses were sparse and situated quite far apart, so not heavily populated area. My mom was busy with something in her room, which was situated at the far end of the 72-foot trailer we were living in. I went into the kitchen for something and heard a knock at the door. I went to open it and found 4 kids standing outside, 2 boys, 2 girls. I opened the screen door and the larger of the boys asked, "Can we use your phone? We need to call our mom." I was immediately suspicious because where the hell did these kids come from? I had lived here for a few years and knew all the kids in the neighborhood. I remember looking at the larger boy's eyes and thinking something was different about him, but couldn't put my finger on it. I later realized that his eyes were pitch black. I shrugged and opened the screen wider and let them in. I left the front door open as I took them into the kitchen and pointed to where the phone was. The larger boy picked up the phone as my mom called to me. I ran into my mom's room and she said, "Who's in the house?" I told her a bunch of kids wanted to use the phone. She looked angry and said, "You don't let anyone in the house. Tell them to leave." I walked out of her room back to the kitchen to tell them they had to go and found the phone off the hook. The front door was still open and the screen door closed. I ran to the door and outside to look for the kids. They were nowhere to be found. They couldn't have even had time to walk or run across 2 acres to get to the street. So where did they go? After that happened, life was super weird. Mom was always getting sick, unable to find sustainable work. She became heavily paranoid and got into damaging relationships with men. Of the most weird occurrences were when she didn't have the ability to pay the phone bill. So the phone company came to disconnect the phone. However, we were still getting phone calls. I rarely ever answered the phone, so when my mom told me this, I was skeptical and didn't really believe her. Then one day, she was busy outside and the phone rang, so I answered it. I heard a woman say hello on the other end. It sounded like my aunt. Then it just went all static. When my mom came back in, I told her what occurred. She went to the neighbors and called the phone company and asked them to check the line, that our phone was ringing. They came out, inspected the line at the pole, and came inside and told my mom, "There is no way you are getting calls. The line is completely disconnected. It's cut at the pole." This happened constantly, even after Mom moved the trailer to another city. In that city, she had failed to pay the bill again, and the phone was disconnected, but we kept getting calls and ended in dead air or strange voices and static. Their linesman told her the same thing, and there was no way the phone was ringing, but yet it did. To this day, I really don't know what to make any of that, but it was also around this time I began experiencing things like words of knowledge and clairvoyant experiences where I would know things I had never learned. I heard things before they happened in physical reality. I mostly kept these experiences to myself and would just think it was weird. When my mom sold that trailer, we never had those weird phone experiences again, and the clairvoyance went away. Something had happened to the trailer after those kids came into that door. Here are a few other experiences that I remember. While still living in the country, I was sitting on my mom's bed next to her. She was saying it feels like bugs are crawling all over me. I got off the bed and walked to her dresser for some reason. Felt the need to look up. On the ceiling, there were millions of little spiders. This is no exaggeration. I knew my mom would freak out, so I told her, Mom, please get up and leave the room. She looked at me with a look of concern and said, Why? I said, Please, just get out of the room. She then gave me a look like I was being impossible. So I said, Look up. I had never seen her leave a room so fast after that. We fumigated the house directly after, several times a year, actually. I've never seen anything like that before. After we had moved the trailer to another city, some lights would either dim or get brighter and brighter when we turned them on, until they literally popped. When my mom called the electric company, they sent out an electrician to inspect. He climbed the pole, and when he tested one of the lines, it literally popped him off the side of the pole, and he flew to the ground. He was okay, though a little shaken. The electric company's stance on that issue was there was a miswiring at the pole. It was most likely that they missed the ground. Again, could be unrelated, but circuit breakers never tripped during these episodes. Why would you let the black-eyed kid in your house? Why? What time is it? It's lot lizard time. Are you guys ready for the Aramook? Thank you, brother. God, Aramook, thank you so much. You guys have been so kind to me tonight. All right, here we go. So, thank you, Five Rings. So when I write the lot lizard experiences, I like to make the lot lizard like a famous person. In this lot lizard tonight, this one is Sam Smith. And if you know who Sam Smith is, you will really enjoy this one. Here we go. In the heart of America's sprawling highways, where miles of asphalt curl into the endless night, the rest stops flickered with an unsettling warmth. They were a haven for weary truckers, but also a breeding ground for peculiar stories, like that of Sam Smith, known as the Lot Lizard. Sam had a reputation that traveled faster than the trucks that rolled in for fuel. Standing at 6 feet tall with inky black hair and eyes that glinted like polished coal, he resembled the very embodiment of a misfit from a horror flick. His attire consisted of tight jeans that hugged his form, adorned with studs and spikes. But what truly set him apart was a whimsical accessory, a huge rubber donkey penis hanging proudly from his belt like a trophy. The truckers, man-hardened by years on the road, were made tougher material than most. Little rattled them, and they often prided themselves on being the kings of the highway. But when Sam sauntered into their sight, complete with his devilish smirk and outlandish costume, laughter mixed with a flicker of fear ripped through the cab of every truck. It's Sam, the devil again, they chuckled, eyes wide as they rehashed how he would approach with a swagger that screamed mischief. Sam found great joy in provoking the right blend of terror and laughter. This made him exceedingly popular in his own outrageous way. One fateful misty evening, Sam sauntered to a well-lit rest stop just off of Route 66. Underneath the flickering fluorescent light, he spotted a brand new rig parked with its engine idling softly. The truck bore the name Pegasus Freight, an elegant curvus across the door. Intrigued, Sam approached it, lips curled into a sly grin. Need some entertainment, big boy, he teased, knowing well that he was a sight to behold on a desolate highway. The trucker, a burly man named Ron, turned to him with a look of amused disbelief mixed with an unhinged curiosity. What the hell are you supposed to be? Halloween came early? Just your friendly neighborhood devil, Sam replied, a light glint off his faux horns, offering a special delight tonight. He gestured to his absurd accessory, swinging ever so slightly. Is that a joke? Ron snorted. You think that scares me? Oh, honey, Sam winked. If it doesn't scare you, it might just offend you. Ron half laughed, half intrigued, leaned back in his seat. What's your story, devil? Sam plopped onto the truck's passenger seat, tossing his legs over the edge. Let's just say I've played both sides in this game of life, mischief and mayhem. But tonight, it's all about bringing a bit of laughter to the dark shadows of the highways. As Sam regaled Ron with tales of his weird exploits along the glimmering blacktop, an undeniable rapport formed. Sam took pride in entertaining his audience, coaxing hearty laughter from Ron, who couldn't believe how this tattooed lot lizard, a perfect cocktail of horror and humor. But the night took a turn when the sinister chill snapped and this gusty wind rattled through the treetops. Suddenly, an air felt electric. The shadows seemed to dance along the edge of the lot. All right, buddy, show me what you got, Ron challenged playfully, throwing down the gauntlet as he rubbed his hands in anticipation. Let's see that big rubber penis scare me. With a devilish grin, Sam elevated the rubber donkey appendage dramatically like a sword raised for battle. For a moment, Ron froze, half in jest, half paralyzed by surprise. It's a bird, a plane. No, it's legendary Donkey of Doom. Just as Sam struck a pose, an eerie howl echoed through the night, drawing both men's attention. A black silhouette darted past the truck, prompting Sam and Ron to go silent. What was that? Ron whispered. His bravado slipped away. Trucker's ghost, Sam grinned, lips curled in mischief, and he lowered the rubber appendage slightly. Legend says he roams the highway, scaring the likes of you. Shifts are never the same after he pops by. Ron paled slightly, but Sam managed to keep him giggling at the absurdities of the evening. In that moment, with laughter smirking the air and shadows straddling reality and fiction, they both experienced a spine-chilling realization. Sometimes the scariest stories didn't just belong to the dark. Sometimes they manifested in the brightest of routines, tinted with humor. Eventually, as dawn began to break and the shadows retreated, both men laughed wholeheartedly at the night's antics. Ron shifted his gear, ready for the long haul ahead, while Sam vanished into the morning mist like a cheeky specter. Sam Smith wasn't just a story of a lot lizard, rather, he's an anomaly, a slice of freaky flair in the dull routine of the road. They would all remember the night the devil grinned and the rubber donkey played its part in the oddities of the truck stop tales where fear and laughter collided in one night of haunting hilarity. I told you it was good. I told you. I told you. Ha ha. Tina, I got one. I got one right here. Hey, Jenny, how are you? The Donkey of Doom. What's up, Terry? Hey, you know who hasn't been here lately? Gringo. I haven't seen Gringo in a while. I will do one of Madonna very soon. No, but Harley, I do need to call you, and I apologize. I've been really busy with the snow that's been falling. Stacey Mathis, I saw it, but I haven't tried it yet. Yeah, I haven't seen Gringo in a while. Gringo's name, Gringo Sizemore is his name. And he really fucking looks like that name sounds like he should look. He's a big, big dude. I haven't seen Puma Pete either. Boondock. No, I don't believe I got that photo. I'm not gay, but he is a looker, Simone. He's got that fucking chiseled face. $20 is $20, fucking. Haha, Gringo! Oh, yeah. Gringo! Fucking Gringo! Haha, baby! Just kidding. Just kidding. In 1981, I was working for a contractor as a mason's apprentice after leaving trade school. That summer, we were working in Mystic Caverns in northern Arkansas. We were upgrading tour trails in the caves. On a Friday, I was getting close to quitting time, so myself and another guy had to go through the work area and make sure that all the tools were collected and that the safety barriers were up. We weren't working during the weekend, so the work area had to be tightened up before we left. The guy who was with me, I forgot why, so I was down there by myself for a while. I was almost finished loading the cart when I heard a faint pounding sound coming deeper from the cavern. I thought that maybe one of the crew may still be in the cave, so I yelled out. The banging stopped and it was quiet. Then I started to hear slapping sounds for a few seconds. Then it became quiet again. I yelled out again. I didn't get a response, so I figured it was the cave critters or bats. I started making my way out. There was an area where I came upon where, on the right of the railing, it dropped off into a depression. There was some lighting, but it's difficult to see the bottom of the depression. As I passed by, I heard splashing sounds coming from that area. I stopped and I got a glimpse of something on two legs walking in the water below. Further away, there was a section in the cavern that opened up and it was well lit. As I watched, the splashing continued, and then I saw this thing moving out of the shadows, moving away from me. The only way I can describe it is it was something like walking on two legs with large frog feet. It stood maybe 5 feet in height with dark grayish green skin. The head was large and rounded, though it never turned around, so I can't give you any detail on its face. The body was thick in the chest, but narrow in the waist and hips. It bent at the knees when it stepped and had shiny skin resembling a frog. I didn't notice any hair. I didn't hear any vocals, just the splashing as it moved away from me. I estimate that it was 70 or so feet from me when I first got a good look at it. I wasn't scared, just stunned. I grabbed the cart and quickly made my way toward the entrance. When we came back to work the next Monday, I did not mention it to anyone. I kept a sharp eye out for anything out of the ordinary. The job lasted a few more weeks, and I didn't observe any more weird stuff. A few weeks after this, I found out that one of my girlfriend's cousins worked in the caverns. He replaced lighting and did other odds and ends. So he was in the cavern a lot. When I got a chance to meet him, I asked him if he had ever seen anything strange in the cave. He said that he hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary. I told him I was just wondering. I didn't want to alarm him with the details of what I saw. I was not imagining this thing. And after all of these years, I still get creeped out when I think of it. I have never heard or read of any sightings in Mystic Caverns. Night, Linda. M. Allen, how are you? Storm Zombie. I'm a dental surgeon practicing for 45 years in Eureka, California. When I'm at the office late, I make it a point to break up the boredom with listening to Coast to Coast. I've heard stories of black-eyed children. Frankly, I would have rather heard stories about ghosts or UFOs because black-eyed children just didn't seem plausible. I received my first doctorate. Larry Lindman, holy shit. Couple questions. One, is it hard producing new content as your channel grows? What stories stick out in your mind that you have no doubt are true? Do you believe you can actually vet your story via telephone, or is it a term to inspire confidence? No, Larry. Usually when I vet somebody like the DOD guy and naval guy, he sent me his credentials via the email. Usually I get the vetting done via email if I want to see some sort of evidence of their proof of who they say they are. Then talking to them, as you know, you work in a hospital, so you can hear the bullshit if the bullshit transpires and shit like that. There's been a couple of times that I have had people that, like, I've actually done an interview. That's a great question. I've done an interview. I'm not even going to mention a name. So I recorded the whole fucking interview, and the first 5 minutes of the interview seemed really good. And then midway, somewhere along the line, it went from really good to really fucking weird and like movie like. So I ended up recording, I think I recorded like 45 minutes of it. And as I'm still talking to the guy and interviewing him, I deleted the fucking recording. Let him finish telling me his bullshit story. And then after we let each other go, I stayed up for another 2 hours putting together an upload with experiences that I've acquired through the years of having the channel. Other than that, Larry, is that good? Nice. You're speaking today? That's awesome, Larry. Fucking great, dude. Thank you, somewhere. And anybody, Larry was not being a douche with that question. It's a fucking great question, and I appreciate you asking, Larry. And somewhere, thank you so much. Because it is fucking hard. And okay, so the beginning of every day's videos, like new people or whatever, I put out a new video at the beginning of every day, or I try to. If I can't, I will put together something that I aired a long time ago. I'll re-record it because of the YouTube algorithm. I don't want my channel to fall into some kind of void or realm. Like, I have almost 40 million views on this channel. and I only have 95,000 subs. I have a YouTube creator assistant that works for YouTube, and he's told me flat out that he can't figure out the algorithm to why I don't have more subscribers than I do. He said, with your amount of views, like I had 12 million views last year alone. And he said, with your amount of views, you should have easily 160,000 subs. We can't figure it out. So I will, and then when I do re-air, like in bonuses, it's for new subscribers. So I don't know if that helps people or not, but Larry, thank you. I appreciate you. Or top 5 stories. Top 5. Brad and the Angel Experience. I know Brad is an amazing person. I've gotten to know Brad quite well. The Ambulance Experience. Dan from Connecticut. There's 2. My own story, because I know my story is true, so I can't discredit it any way. My story is the only one that I know is 100% true because it happened to me. Jesse with his son, and Mount Shasta with the kid named Kirk. I'd say those are my 5 that come to my head like that. Mikey, thank you, and have a good night. Luke, yes, Luke, of course. Favorite Victor experience. My favorite Victor experience is probably ones that you've never heard, ones that were privately shared between me and him. But I think I like ones that you guys wouldn't like. Like I'm particularly fond of Victor talking about the New Mexico, the spider-like creature that he killed, and that the merman-like creature that he had seen with like the razor things. So that's, I don't know. Larry, thank you for bringing that up. That literally changed the whole mood of tonight's live stream. Thank you so much. That was fucking awesome. George Coker, thank you, brother. Dude, New Mexico is a fucking crazy, crazy state. I'm starting to like really understand that. Aramic, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that again. Holy shit. You guys are fucking awesome to me tonight. Thank you so much. I really don't deserve this. Holy shit. So the last couple of days, I've shared that map that's downstairs in my downstairs office. And if you look at New Mexico, where I've pinned deep underground military bases that we know of, I've pinned where experiences have happened. And then right above it, where Archuleta Mesa, Randall Kennedy again, too. Thank you guys. Wow. So I really honestly believe that, like, from the bottom of Colorado to like midway of New Mexico, I really think there is one huge deep underground military base there. And I think Dulce is its own entity, part of it with tunnels connecting to it. But I think it's fucking ginormous. And part of me wants to think that there is something more so going on there that we would be shocked as a race if we knew, you know? But thank you guys so much. All right, we'll get back to the experience. I'm a dental surgeon practicing for at least 45 years here in California. When I'm at the office late, I make it a point to break up the boredom of massive paperwork by listening to Coast to Coast. I've heard experiences of black-eyed kids. Frankly, I would have rather heard stories about ghosts or UFOs because black-eyed children just did not seem plausible. I received my first doctorate in physics and became a physician so that I could resume my own theatrical research for dimensional periodic functions, which is pretty boring but needs a lot of time and may be instrumental in the multiverse theory. One of the tricks I've used for over a decade was when a patient is fearful of the needle or other potential procedures, I used to ask the patient, "What is the strangest thing you have ever seen?" Once the patient is talking, breaking into some story, the chances of nausea or anxiety are greatly reduced in my experience. So here's the experience. One of my internal medicine colleagues sent me his wife for a procedure. The wife, the patient, is an attorney. For a patient, she's really nervous, even telling my assistant that she really dreads going to the dentist. So while I'm performing the preliminaries for surgery, I asked, "What's the strangest thing you've ever seen?" The patient replied, "You wouldn't believe me. I'm not even sure if I believe myself." Now, I really got to get the story. The patient finally acquiesced and told me what happened. It was March of 2015. The patient was in our local Safeway pushing a cart like everyone else. She was on the left side of the aisle, being left-handed. She was taking items with her left hand and putting them into her cart. At this point, she hears the sound of cooing and a baby talking, and this toddler is standing in the cart that had drawn parallel to her. She looked up to see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed toddler, a boy, about 18 months in age. She smiled and said, "Hi, baby." At this point, the child made eye contact with her. Immediately, the child's eyes turned deep opaque black, not just the iris, but the sclera as well. She took a rapid step back, not only fearful of the transmogrification, but the feeling of being drawn into those eyes. She broke eye contact. The child grinned at her, black eyes and all. She was immobile as the mother of the child and the cart carried on their way down the aisle. The child looked, at her as the mother made a turn. Its eyes were normal and blue again. My patient then went on to the end of the aisle, turned left, checked out, and went home fearing she was having a psychotic break. I asked her a few questions. "Did you see the mom?" "No. But she was thin, long blonde hair, wore jeans. She did not remember any facial features." "Have you ever heard of black-eyed children?" "No. I would never ascribe to the paranormal stuff," was her response. And just to be complete, this patient is not a drinker, nor does she have a history of drugs, some THC in college. I do not know what to make of this. The patient is a practicing attorney, well respected in our small community, and married to a physician. There is nothing in her demeanor at all in our contacts to make us suspect drug abuse or mental abnormalities. An ophthalmologist colleague told me that he had once heard a similar story, but does not know any syndromes that would cause black sclera, save for any trauma. Trying to find. Here we go. Busafus, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you. You're the man now, dog. Sean Connery. What a great fucking actor he was. Was he ever a sir? I think he was a sir. Didn't he get knighted? Wow, it's so original, Cryptid Cooper. Yes, he did. Okay, I knew it. Did all the actors besides Timothy Dalton, was it Timothy Dalton, get knighted? I think Roger Moore. Roger Moore got knighted too, right? Buddy, want to get Tigger? Let me see if I get Tigger. Come here, buddy. Boy. I'm trying to get Tiggy. You can hear him? I don't know if you guys can hear that. Can you hear the noise? That's Tigger ripping at his scratching post. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Come here, buddy. Boy. Come on, buddy. Buddy. This always gets Tigger to come in. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Blibbity blobbity blah. He's such an asshole. Boy! Come on, bud. Boy. Here. Hey, buddy. There he is. There he is. There's a buddy. Say hi to everybody. Say hi, everybody. Oh, Hugo boy. Hugo boy, huh? Oh, yeah. He did not like that. Good boy, huh? He's fucking such an asshole. Oh, so Tigger and my daughter's kitten, they met. They finally met. And I was always scared that Tigger was going to beat the kitten up. No. The kitten is crazy. So the kitten is fucking running around the house. Tigger just wants to smell the kitten's ass. All of a sudden, Tigger backs away like this, and the fucking kitten hit Tigger in his nuts and fucking took off running. He hit my cat in the nuts. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Tigger runs away. He doesn't get mad and want to fight. Nope, he runs away like a little bitch. Fucking Tigger. Tigger got nut smacked. He's like, "Row, row." He literally made that noise, like, "Row, row." Nico, how are you? Me too. I was so mad. I was like, bring him back in the room now. It's been 10 years since this happened, but the event is something which stuck with me and I want to share. In 2014, I was sent to a summer camp to study German close near the Munich Alps. The location was remote. Only way out was a bus stop, which was on the other side of the lake, located near a hotel and an abandoned church. The only other buildings were the Wi-Fi was at the time really at its infancy in the camp, while mobile signals would come and go typically would have half a bar, lucky if one. The camp was surrounded by mountains, and if you wanted to get out by foot, you'd have to hike upwards and then hike 15 to 20 kilometers through the thicket. The weather would change considerably quick, rain to fog to clear blue. The summer camp had 6 staff members for a group of 30 students from age 13 to 17. I was 14 at the time and was lucky with the group I had. I would surround myself with a few Americans, Australians, and Russians who were good company but lost contact over the years. There were French and mostly Spanish students. The majority of my time there was amazing. Hiking for 8 to 9 through mountains, swimming in the lake, and making campfires, shooting bows, playing ball. It was the best summer of my life. Skipping to week 2 to the event, which would change the way I looked at the place even to this day. It was a very dreadful day. From that morning was the rain was heavy and the wind was blowing the fog into the valley. And it was a max 10 degrees, maybe 11, but I still can't believe we continued hiking in those conditions, but no one was against it. The hike was miserable as we walked up in the elevation, but it all went well until the descent. The staff members told us we couldn't continue the hike and we needed to go back. During the descent, I started to get sick and a feeling of being watched, but it eventually disappeared after we got back to camp. Once in camp, I was talking to one of the guys in my room about it, but he shrugged it off and said you probably caught cold or something. As time went on, the rain finally stopped and we were all gathering to start a campfire. It was around 1700 to 1800. All was good and everyone was enjoying themselves. One of the guys brought out a large lumen flashlight, which lit up the forest tree line on the right side of the camp. At this time, fog started to flood the camp and the lake, but no one really cared, but it looked cool from what I remember. Some were running into the distance to back for photos. I asked my friend if I could borrow his light. A few minutes would go by while moving the light from right to left. I jokingly muttered, imagine if something jumped out of the wood. As I flashed the light to my left, a white figure silhouette was walking toward the wood line. I shouted, look, you see it? To horror, he had already started shouting towards everyone to look. As everyone in the courtyard looked at the figure, it stopped and turned its head, revealing yellow, glowing eyes. Could tell whether it was eye shine from the light or its own glow. The arms were super long, similar to an ape going down to knee level. Overall appearance was muscular, but athletically slim. The face I couldn't make out from the distance of 40 meters. It then started walking again as staff members ran to get the others as his phone didn't work. All of this happened within a few seconds. As this was happening, the creature looked back at the forest and ran uphill. The speed, oh fuck that speed at which it would run would make a deer slow. It was fast, rough estimate, 40 to 50 miles an hour. It could easily take in all of us and then gotten into the building. As this happened, the staff members arrived and huddled us inside and started telling us to lock the doors and windows and stay indoors after 1800. The time I could imagine Ben at that point was 20 to 2100, roughly speaking. We huddled in our rooms as each member did a room check of everyone who should be inside. The night long as half of the camp started to discuss what we saw and to puzzle it together. There were noises on the roof tapping throughout the night, but didn't see anything as it was pitch black. The following morning came in the courtyard covered in small rocks and sticks thrown about, and big changes were weekly timetable. The hikers were all either shortened or completely canceled. The staff then made large meeting to announce we couldn't go outside a certain radius of the camp as we did before, and we needed to be in groups of 6. After that, even when going out and walking around, everything felt off, and the world seemed a lot more hostile than when I experienced 2 weeks ago. Some called the camp short and went home. Others waited for the week to end. I left the following week, even when my mom wanted me to stay an extra week, which I declined. Moving a year later, I revisited the camp for 2 weeks. As one, I enjoyed my initial time up until the event, as if was a good language school. Once I arrived, I noticed they had built an electric fence around the whole perimeter of the camp. I was unfortunate to get shocked accidentally by it several times, as it would turn on during the evening to early hours and turn off during the day. Staff said it was to keep cows at bay, which I never seen walk in that area before. The time to go indoors was 1900, no longer 21 to 2200 like the last years. Cameras were installed around the area. Groups were still a big thing. Things got a lot stricter and more alert. But those 2 weeks went by without much happening. I am working that vape. You have a serval, Randall Kennedy? Dude, I love servals. Holy shit. What do you call 2 lesbians in the closet? Oh my God, Aramic. I cannot say that out loud, but that was fucking great. I guess it's time. Is it time for another lot lizard story? All right, it's time for another lot lizard story. Ugh. Here we go. Oh, Randall, I'm so sorry. How was she as like a pet? Was she aggressive or was she perfect? What do you call that dinosaur, Darren? I wish I had your hair. I wish I had my long hair back. Oh my God, dude. I can't repeat that. All right. Yes, Spirit level. It is a Lizzo story. Dude. It did grow fast. Nice and love to play. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What's the best part about dating a homeless girl? After the date, you can drop her off anywhere. Oh my God. Tommy, tell her thank you. Or her, him, thank you so much. And tell them I said hi. But not that burp. That burp was not for them. That was just random Coke burp. All right, here we go. In the forgotten corner of the Midwest, nestled among the vast expanses of cornfields and the faded glow of the gas station signs, there existed a truck stop known as the Lizard's Crossing. It was a haven for weary truckers seeking fuel and rest, a place where stories were swapped and shadows danced in the neon light. But this truck stop held an unusual secret. Lizzo, the chubby lot lizard with a penchant for mischief and an uncanny ability to shapeshift. Lizzo wasn't your typical lot lizard. With her pink hair that danced like flames in the wind and eyes that sparkled with mischief, she captivated the hearts and pocketbooks of truckers passing through. But beneath that playful exterior melded a power unbeknownst to most. Lizzo could transform her appearance at will, slipping from voluptuous curves to a slender silhouette in mere seconds. With an impish smile, she knew how to wrap a trucker around her finger. One fateful Wednesday night, the moon hung low and full, casting a silvery glow over the parking lot. Lizzo, clad in her signature leopard print ensemble, stood near the bathroom entrance, patiently waiting for the next late-night traveler. She leaned against the wall, her form oscillating between captivating and grotesque, depending on the mood or the direction of the wind. Entro, a burly trucker with a beard so gray it looked like it had been dipped in ash, stepped out of his rig. He ambled towards her, his eyes blurred with hours of driving. "Hey there, sweetheart," he slurred, leaning against the wall with support. "What do you say we have a little fun?" Lizzo's eyes glinted with mischief. "Fun? Oh, honey, you've come to the right place. But have you ever been spanked?" The trucker raised an eyebrow, taken back. "Spanked? Like a kid?" Lizzo giggled. "Oh, just you wait and see." She fluttered her ashes and, in a blink of an eye, morphed into a dominatrix, complete with leather and whips. "All right, big boy," she said sweetly. "Time to go to the bathroom." Curiosity piqued Entro, stumbled after her, and the duo entered the cramped restroom. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry bees. Inside, the stench was overwhelming. Years of truckers' fast food choices and neglect melded into a signature odor that would deter most. But Lizzo, she thrived on such circumstances. "Now let's get down to business," she said, brandishing a pink paddle that seemed to materialize from air. "Bend over." The trucker laughed nervously. His bravado faded. "Wait, I was just joking." But Lizzo was far from jesting. She wasn't just a playful spirit. She had a taste for chaos and often found her in strange predicaments. With a swift motion, she landed a playful yet firm smack on Entro's backside. "Welcome to the crossing, buddy," she called out. The sound echoed from the tiled walls. The trucker yelped, half in surprise, half in delight. "What the hell?" With each swing of the paddle, Lizzo's laughter resonated off the grimy floors, a medley that echoed unsettlingly in a small space. In mere moments, Lizzo's magical touch turned the trucker from a blustering tough guy to a giggling mess. As the spanking continued, Lizzo decided it was time to take it up a notch. With a graceful twirl, she shifted into a vision of grandeur, a sultry, glittering fairy, wings reminiscent of the night sky shimmering around her. "Didn't think you were gonna Didn't think you were going to a fairy tale tonight, did you? She teased, her voice melodious and tinged with a sinister glee. Entro, now completely bewildered, could only shake his head in disbelief. Oh no! Now I'm scared. Scared? Oh, honey, you'll love this. With one powerful flap of her wings, Lizzo took flight, hovering just above the bathroom stall, paddling him playful from a distance. Each thwack echoed a punctuation mark into the absurd horror tapestry. Why are you doing this? He cried, both terrified and laughing uncontrollably. Because I'm Lizzo, the lot lizard of Lizard's Crossing. I take what I want tonight. I want to make you giggle. Her laughter turned sinister as the bathroom door creaked open, revealing a bewildered trucker who quickly backed away, muttering curses under his breath. With one playful swoop, Lizzo landed on the counter, now back to her curvy form, hands on her hips. You're my first customer since last Tuesday. Consider yourself lucky. Tell your friends about Lizzo, she shouted, her spirit undeterred by their bewilderment. The next morning, as the sun stretched its golden fingers over Lizard's Crossing, truckers exchanged stories about the odd encounters of the night. But Lizzo, like a specter, faded back into the shadows, leaving only laughter and confusion behind. In the end, she soared above the cornfields, the laughter of truckers below, a symphony of chaos. And with each flap of her wings, she felt a twinge of joy. After all, who could say they were spanked by a flying lot lizard of the moonlight night? Lizzo had her own way of leaving an impression, and she planned to keep truckers guessing. After all, a dash of horror and joy made the world spin just a little brighter. Aramic, I purposely added wings to Lizzo for you, Aramic. Ha ha! Oh, shit. Oh, this one's good. Here we go. We got one more lot lizard story left for the night. Time is it? Almost 2. All right. Jesus Christ. How much snow did we get? Fuck. Use the old can opener. Oh, we only got 2 inches so far. That's what she said. Just a thing that's been on my mind since this happened. At the time of sharing this, it's been a while. This happened August 27th of 2024 in the state of Oklahoma. So some context. I live in a rural area that is currently being made into a big town. New stores, new neighborhoods, the whole nine. It's still in the early days, so it's all under construction. So my neighborhood still has woodlands on one side and just open land a few miles on the other. Aramic, thank you so much, brother. Thank you very much. You guys are fucking awesome tonight. Thank you. One side, miles on the other. Since the first night I've come out here, I've always felt like I am being watched if I'm outside. Sometimes it's not as direct, as if it's acknowledging my presence, but I'm not its priority. if that makes sense. But other times it felt I was the only thing it was looking at, especially at night. I've done some dumb things as challenging it by walking further out into the tree scattered yard, blocking the moonlight in places, although some of these times were on purpose. I had to feel comfortable walking in my own backyard, right? So each time I did, I stayed longer and further out until I finally got freaked out and went back inside. The entire time, I state my intent, whether I am just going to retrieve something or simply saying, I'm only walking because this is my backyard. I mean, no disrespect. I even began to say that I respect its presence and I don't mind it staying, but I don't appreciate it trying to make me feel scared in my own home. While I acknowledge this was its home first, my situation was not one of choice of me living here specifically. I made this known every time I felt its presence prioritize me. This has been happening for a while now, but its threatening protective presence began to fade, and it is more of a curiosity. At least it felt that way to me. I may misinterpret this, but the threat and fear presence started to go away. And while it started out happening only at night, I began to feel it around me during the day. While this started happening, I started finding feathers on the ground. While, yes, I live where there are a lot of birds, I haven't found any in the time I've been living here until this happened. Each time I was genuinely ecstatic to find one. It started out with just one or two a day, then it increased to about 10 a day. I have a full jar of feathers now. It was blue jays mostly for a while, and then others started appearing. I literally turned around and an owl feather was floating in the air in front of me one day. I just stared at it while it landed softly on the ground. This was my absolute favorite one to find so far. Even turnping and the raven juvenile hawk feathers I have. After finding the one owl feather, I found about 5 smaller tufts of owl feathers the next day. This continued happening for a few months with the blue jay feathers, and as it began to turn colder, there are less birds. Sorry. One day, a couple of weeks after the owl feathers, I was taking my dogs out and was just walking through the yard, talking to my dogs as a slightly insane person does. And I felt its presence again. I smiled because at this point, it's become familiar and I enjoy it. Well, out of the corner of my eye, something moves. While I have always felt its presence, I have never had such a physical reaction as I did when I turned to watch this figure step out from behind a tree on the opposite end of the yard of me. I felt the goosebumps form on my arm as if ice had just brushed against them. Every single hair on my arms, neck, and back stood on end. I started having trouble understanding what I was seeing for a second. Across the yard stood a figure with fur draped across them. They had bones and sticks tied in places, and on their head sat a skull with the biggest antlers I have ever seen. Their eyes laid behind the sockets, as if they were wearing a mask. It locked eyes with me, nodding, and took a step and disappeared. 2 of my dogs were barking at something across the street, while my third, who is very independent and does not like to cuddle, watched this thing and stepped closer to me. So I know I saw it because my dog acknowledged it as well. But this throwing me for a loop. As I answer or reply to questions or comments, after the night of seeing this entity, I would hear coyotes every time I went outside for about a week straight. But one night definitely stood out. My partner had come home late from work, and we did our usual routine, made food, and then step out for a smoke to let the dogs out. Well, we did this, but this time we kept the dogs on the leash. We normally don't, but for some reason we did. I don't remember why. It was quiet while we walked the dogs, let them do their business, and as usual, I felt eyes on me. Now, at this point, I am somewhat used to it, so I acknowledge it and say, I'm just letting my dog go to the bathroom, and I'll go back to my porch. But when I said this, the feeling of getting to the porch got urgent, which hasn't happened in months. This confused me, and I tried to shake it off and repeat what I said, but then something fell around the trees on the opposite side. Of course, me and my dog looked up and fell over, or looked up and over. Immediately, there was a little whisper of a thought that said porch. And so we made our way back. More things kept snapping and falling, but it didn't feel dangerous anymore. We waited a bit and it stopped, and we finally relaxed. My partner and I stood while we talked, just enjoying the stars, when the coyotes started going. Usually they were about a mile away, but this sounded like it was on the other side of the fence. Now I know they weren't right there, but that's how loud it was. I've never been this close before. They sounded angry as well, like they had something surrounded. I had a sense of worry, but also in awe of the sounds of nature. I felt bad for whatever poor creature they had, but there was something beautiful about nature still happening as construction takes place around it. After I got silent, there was After it got silent, there was a bird call. It was far away, and I don't have the best hearing, so I couldn't tell what it was, but it stuck in the back of my mind. After a moment, it happened again. This time I could make out deeper tones. A few moments later, I knew it. It was the owl. And at this point, I realized that it was getting closer. Now I've heard it before, and obviously I have owl feathers, but I never heard when it was near. We stopped talking and just listened as it went from tree to tree, closer to our yard, until it was on the edge of the closest one. I listened to it for what seemed like forever, but was probably 10 or 15 minutes. It just sat there, began to growl. I kept my dog calm. Then the owl called out again, began diving at something and taking off. After this, we obviously went inside. Another thing I noticed was that since coming here, animals of all kinds seem to find me or be near me when they take their last breath. This happened with a snake. My dog found it, didn't touch it. I picked it up, seeing that it had an injury, and went to look at it. It moved a little and then stopped breathing. I teared up and took it to our fire pit, as we were going to have a bonfire soon. We wanted to give it a little moment. After this incident, it started happening with spiders and lizards, and then recently a moth with a deformed wing. I brought the moth inside, gave it a slice of apple, and it sat there and whatever licked off of it like it sat on a log with some moss. I checked back later and the moth had passed. This doesn't happen often, but often enough, I have noticed. I really believe that whatever this creature is, or whatever I saw that day, is some sort of protector of my land. Oklahoma. Sounds like a shaman. Sounds like a shaman to me. Thank you, SDL. What's up, Jan? How are you? From Western New York. George Coker. Coker and poker. All right. Let me me see. We'll do one more experience and then the last lot lizard story of the night. Let me find a good one. Let me find a good one. My little buttholes. All right, here we go. This will be the last encounter of the night, and then we'll do our last lot lizard story of the night. So here we go, my friends. I live in Vermont and grew up here nearly my entire life. I've always been home in the woods. It has always made me feel calm, and I have really never feared being in the woods, especially during the daytime. Vermont doesn't have much to fear nature-wise. I don't have the ability to be silent, but I am very aware of my noise level as well as the sounds in the woods. I've had woods go quiet on me a few times, but if you stop moving, the sounds of the woods come back usually within a minute. Twice I've experienced the woods go absolutely silent and felt uneasy. The first time was when I was hiking with my then girlfriend up Mount Abe, maybe 2012. There's a section of the trail that is very unique and beautiful. The woods become less thick and moss covers most of the ground that you can see. We are hiking through this area, the woods go quiet, and we both come to a stop. She asked if I felt that. I said something didn't feel right, but I laughed it off and jokingly attributed it to the silence to me huffing. We started off again, and she still was in front. The quiet didn't end, and I felt like something or someone was looking over my shoulder frequently. This section of the trail isn't terribly long, maybe half an hour, but it seemed to be still as air. We finally got to an intersection of the next trail, and we stopped again. Just up the trail, not 30 feet away, we saw something run across the trail and go behind a dead tree. It poked its head out partially from behind the tree and retracted it back. This tree would have been hard for anyone or anything but a child to hide behind. Without thinking, I walked past her, marched over to the tree to look around it, and nothing. The woods woke back up almost immediately. I walked back to my girlfriend and discussed the whole thing. We both felt like this section of the path seemed to take way longer than it should have. We both noticed how uneasy the silence felt. Also, like we were not alone. We both saw someone rush behind this tree and peer out. We didn't know what to think, so we just laughed it off. Hooked the rest of the way to the peak. We ate, chilled for a bit at the top, and went back the way we came, without anything happening. I hooked through there after, and I've never had anything happen again. The second time, 2016, I was out behind my apartment that has a huge area of woods. The nearest road straight back was a little more than 3 miles east. North and south was maybe 10 miles off total the woods. So I am out maybe a mile deep. Walking one day, the woods were alive with birds, squirrels, chipmunks, all getting ready for winter. Instantly, the woods go silent. I stopped to let it wake up, thinking it was me rustling the leaves and down twigs. I hear something slowly walking and stop somewhere behind me. I look around, nothing. The woods stay quiet. I walk a little further, stop again, and once again something walking stopped, but still not visible. I did this a few more times with the same results. I began to get concerned, cut north to make my way down the ravine and back west. I get out of the ravine and stop once again. The woods are still quiet. I hear something making its way down in heavy landings in the leaves. I booked it in a very random zigzag all the way back to my apartment. Again, I went out after and didn't experience anything. The state says we do not have cougar or mountain lion. I think I would have known if it was a bear or coyote early on. It was a lot lizard. That's crazy, spirit level. Did you have it? Was it close to your home, the grizzly bear? I was thinking it was the guy's girlfriend. Thank God I'm a police dispatcher. I can do both. Fucking Zilla. Oh, it's a joke. Oh, damn it. I thought you were fucking serious, dude. I wanted to see the beast. Oh, yeah, that's right. What the fuck am I thinking? No one has never heard my experience. Okay. SDL. I got chased by. Hang on a second. Is there any more background on how Dogman first existed? Nobody knows. They definitely were not created by the government. And if anyone says that, they're a fucking idiot. So, my Dogman experience. This is for no one. He's never heard my experience. So I apologize for everyone who has not or who has heard it and blah, 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 blah. 1994. I was hanging out with my best friend, Martin. He Czechoslovakian kid. We grew up together. I fucking love the kid. So it was me, Martin, my girlfriend, Martin's girlfriend, and our buddy Gabe. We were all under 17, couldn't drive in New York after 9, so Gabe was our designated driver. We weren't drinking. We just didn't want to get pulled over. We pick up Martin's girlfriend who lived in the cul-de-sac right before the one that we pulled into. So the cul-de-sac was just this big U at the time. Now it's bigger. And there were like new houses being built on the back side of this cul-de-sac to the woods. Beyond these woods is a ton of woods, mountains, an old prison, the Hudson River Valley, and just fucking mountains. So just a bunch of woods. I live in the Adirondacks. So we go around and we park probably 3/4 of the way through this U. The houses are being built. They're at different stages of being built. There's one old orangish fluorescent street lamp that is lighting this area up, this very strange orange color. Mind you, we weren't doing anything. We weren't smoking weed. We weren't drinking. We were smoking cigarettes and listening to Biohazard. I will never forget the night. I will never forget the songs. I will fucking always remember it. I remember my girlfriend was sitting on the ground at one point talking to her friend because they were best friends. And all of a sudden we hear this really loud kind of shriekish, growling, weird sound. It didn't sound like a lady screaming, but it I can't explain it. I've never heard the sound before or after this, honestly. We all stopped. The girls yelled vampire. I have no idea why. To this day, I've tried to think about what we watched. We did not watch a vampire movie before this. We were watching Dazed and Confused before this. The girls are already in the car. Gabe turns the music off. I'm standing in front of the car on the passenger side by the headlight. Martin is standing kind of next to me by the door. I'm looking through the woods and I'm watching as I'm watching these white eye shine come through the woods on the tree line, like literally. Now, the thing about all of the woods there is at that point, they had just built this. So any debris that didn't get hauled away was pushed into the woods. So it would be virtually impossible or very difficult for anything to run as quickly as whatever this was. That's in my head. Whatever this is, how is it moving so fast? There's a bunch of debris back there. And I'm standing there like, what the fuck is this? I'm not being brave. I'm completely confused and trying to figure out what I'm looking at. All of a sudden, these eye shines stop, and they are at multiple heights. Some are like 4 feet, some are like 7 to 8 feet. Martin goes in his Czechoslovakian Arnold Schwarzenegger fucking accent, "Jeff, get in the car, bitch." So he's pulling my arm, and Martin was at this point, he used to work out all the time. So he was like literally a little Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I get in the car, and it's an old like Caprice Classic or Gutless Cutlass. It's a fucking land yacht, and it's baby blue. I'll never forget the color. And it's got a bench seat in the front and a bench seat in the back. Martin's riding bitch. I'm in the passenger window side. Gabe's driving. The girls are in the back, huddled up, crying. And we gun it. And I say gun it because this car had like a 350 in it. It was a pretty fast car for being such a heavy car. It was pretty quick. By the time we got to the stop sign, which was not very far, we stop and we look north, we look south because we've got to go north to our house, deeper into the Adirondacks. And as we look north, there this thing is standing on the edge of the tree line and the road. It was at least 7.5 feet tall. It looked very similar to what Anubis looks like, with this kind of very long, jackalish face. Its body looked very strong, but not like the underworld Dogman. Ugh. This thing looked like a fucking like a swimmer, like a very what's that famous swimmer for the Olympics? The guy that got caught smoking weed. That guy's fucking jacked. Like, it looked very strong and very athletic. Like, not huge, but just very strange. And I remember in my head looking at it and going, it doesn't look like it belongs on this planet. Like, for some reason, that popped into my head. Like, it doesn't belong on this planet. And Gabe punched it and flew out the road. We headed back into town, but the thing is we had to drive back past that spot to drop the girls off. So when we did drive by, it wasn't there anymore. So it wasn't just something that had been put there. Like, we drove back and it was gone. We dropped the girls off. Gabe drops me and Martin off. Martin's dad was a custodian, carekeeper or whatever it's called for a church. So Martin's house would have been the old rectory, and then right next to it was a church. So we had the keys to the church. Me and Martin used to hang out in this church all the time. We didn't do anything bad there. We just hung out in there. One time we had girls in there. So we go into the church and we're sitting there and we're like, what the fuck was that? We're like, this was our hangout. We're like sitting in the pews and shit. And we're like, what was that? Da, 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 da. I live 4 houses down the road from Martin. So I walk home, go to bed, get up in the next morning, and I head back to Martin's, knock on the door. Martin's mom answers, and I'm like, dude, we got to go and check that out. Like, let's go see if we can find tracks. So we jump in Martin's truck. We drive down. We get out. We park. And we're looking for tracks. We're looking for, and it's sandy. It's very acidic soil right there. There are a lot of pine trees, scrub pine and shit. And we don't really see any kind of tracks or anything. But the foreman of the place starts screaming at us, get the fuck out of here. And we're like, yo, we're just looking for his dog, like, fucking shut up, asshole. And he's like, we didn't say that, but like, pretty much that's what we were thinking at 17. And he's like, oh shit, all right, there's been a lot of vandalism and people steal. During this time in our town, for some reason, these houses were getting built, people were stealing wood. And like, I don't know what they were doing, or they're building their own house or whatever. But so it was like a big thing. But the guy's like, when did you lose your dog? And we're like, last night. And he's like, that's crazy, because last night when we were packing up for the night, we heard what sounded like a bunch of dogs or wolves or coyotes fighting out in the woods last night. And it really freaked some of the workers out. So we don't find anything, we leave, and I go to an old bookstore and I get my first Cryptid book. I'm 17 years old. And in fucking like in research mode for the rest of my life. This experience changed my life, the way my life went. We never talked to Gabe after that. Gabe just blew us off. Like, he was never around. Years go by, and I end up running into Gabe one night at a Lowe's store. And I'm like, dude, what's up? How have you been? And like, looked the same, you know? And we called him Egon because he looked like Egon. And I'm like, what's up, bro? How are you? Craigers, thank you. Holy shit. Craigers, thank you so much. So he says, I'm like, why did you blow us off that night? I'm like, this is what I have. Like, this is who I am now. I am on YouTube. I fucking talk about crazy experiences. I have 3 audiobooks that I narrated and produced. I'm like, I'm infatuated with this shit. I go hiking all the time. I fucking want to find out what's going on. Why did you blow us off? Why? What did we do to you? And he's like, he blamed us. His dad was like some pastor for some fucking weird church. And he said, because we saw that thing, and you and Martin used to listen to Deicide and Obituary and all this and Broharia, and I'm like, dude, we weren't fucking Satanists. We liked music, real music, you dumbass. And he's like, well, I just saw. And he's like, the crazy thing is, though, is before the initial fucking noise that we all heard that made the girls get in the car, he goes, the door is parked here, so the door is open. This is Gabe. He's doing the knob of the radio. We're over here. The woods are here. So the woods are this way where these things came running from. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw some movement, and he turned to look, and he saw 2 quadruped, huge dog creatures, like 4 feet in height, huge, walk across the road to get into the little bit of woods that were behind us. So let's just say if those things in the woods didn't howl and didn't make any noise, like that shrieking, fucking howling, growling noise that they made, if they didn't make that noise, those 2 creatures and whatever was coming at us would have easily wiped the 5 of us out. Thank God, Jesus our Savior, that they did make a noise. And that's my experience. So Craigers, thank you so much. Yeah, they were definitely flanking us. But it's so weird, like, just because we listened to awesome music, we were Satanists. And he's like, well, you guys did do weird shit in the church. And I'm like, dude, we just fucking brought girls there to fucking hang out. And, you know, like, we were boys. What are boys supposed to do? We had access to a church that we hung out in. It was our clubhouse. Of course, you know, like. Randall, thank you. Jesus did have our backs. He did. And he was definitely Egon. He was Egon for 100%. Dude, I'm surprised he listened to Biohazard. Like, I think he only listened to Biohazard because the Punisher's, the movie line from the Punisher was in the song. So he's like, oh, this is cool. But he would freak out when we play fucking Peter Wilson by Bruharia and shit like that. He'd be like, oh my God, this is real. This is real. They really killed somebody. And I'm like, dude, no, they didn't. They're fucking really band members from other bands. It's a super group, you fuck. Anyway, here we go. Last lot lizard story of the night, kids. The flickering fluorescent light of Dixie Delight. Rest stop cast a sickly yellow glow on the cracked asphalt, painting long distorted shadows. Trixie, perched on a hood of a beat-up Peterbilt, adjusted her sequenced crop top. The night was young, the air thick with diesel fumes and the promise of easy money. Or so she hoped. Business had been slow, even for a Thursday. Trixie, not your average lot lizard. For one, her name wasn't really Trixie. And for two, her services extended beyond the traditional. She was a Zergonian princess, exiled from the swampy, methane-rich homeworld for a minor indiscretion involving a royal hydra and a keg of fermented spice algae. She... Now, I'm sorry, I really fucking went all out. Now, she was stuck on this dusty patch of highway, preying on lonely truckers to survive. Literally. Because the real purpose of her encounters wasn't just about crumpled dollar bills and hurried gratification. It was about propagation. See, Zergonian princesses, while shapely and capable of mimicking human form, had a biological imperative. They needed to impregnate suitable males. Back home, they had their pick of scaly warriors. Here, they had Bubba with his beer belly and Born to Hall tattoo, adjusting to the limited gene pool, and had been challenging. Tonight, a Kenworth pulled in, its chrome gleaming under the harsh lights. A big man lumbered out, scratching his head and balls. He was wearing a Kiss Me I'm an Irish t-shirt, even though it wasn't even close to being St. Patrick's Day. Evening, sugar, Trixie drawled, pushing off the hood. Need some company? The trucker, whose name apparently was Earl, squinted at her. Well, now that depends on the company you keepin'. Trixie gave him her most practical pout. Just me, darling, and maybe a little extra if you're lucky. Earl chuckled, a sound like rocks grinding. Extra, huh? What kind of extra are we talking about? This was her cue, a subtle shift, an almost imperceivable altercation of her features. Her skin, normally a sun-baked tan, began to shimmer with a faint emerald scale. Her eyes narrowed, the pupils elongated into vertical slits. Her teeth sharpened just a little. The kind you'll never forget, Trixie purred, her voice taking a guttural edge. Earl, surprisingly, didn't run screaming. Instead, he grinned, revealing a gap-toothed smile. Sounds interesting. Been looking for something to spice up the life. Brenda back home just nags all the time. Trixie led him to the back of his rig, behind the curtained sleeper berth. The interior reeked of stale coffee and desperation and farts. This was it, her chance to fulfill her royal duty. All right, Earl, she said, her voice now almost entirely reptilian. Let the procedure begin. Earl blinked. Pro what? Before a finish, Trixie shifted fully. Gone was the blonde bombshell. In her place stood a 6-foot-tall emerald-skinned reptilian princess, complete with a frilled neck and a tail swishing menacingly. Earl, bless his simple heart, just stared. Then he started to laugh, a deep rumbling laugh that shook the entire truck. Well, I'll be, he wheezed, wiping the tears from his eyes. Brenda ain't going to believe this. This is better than the time I saw Bigfoot at Flying J. Trixie was confused. Humans usually react in terror. fainting or projectile vomiting. Laughter was a new one. You aren't afraid, she hissed, flexing her clawed fingers. Afraid, honey? I haul hazardous waste for a living. This is just a Tuesday for me. He grabbed her hand. His callous fingers dwarfed hers. Now listen, princess. What's your name again? Trixie, she muttered, still trying to process the bizarre turn of events. Well, Trixie, I'm game for a little interdimensional hanky-panky. But I gotta be honest, I ain't exactly looking to be a daddy, especially to no lot lizard babies. Trixie deflated. Her scales dimmed slightly. This was not going according to plan. But Earl continued, a mischievous glint in his eyes. I do got a proposition for you. I ain't been able to find a co-driver, and Brenda refuses to cross state lines. How would you like to see America, princess? And maybe, just maybe, we can find more willing participant along the way. Trixie considered this. It was an unconventional offer, to say the least. But staying at the Dixie Delight, waiting for another unsuspecting trucker, was becoming unbearable. Besides, she was kind of growing fond of Earl's weird brand of obliviousness. A slow smile spread across her reptilian face. All right, Earl, she said. You got yourself a deal, but you're buying the snacks this time. And so Princess Tricky, the exiled Zergonian, climbed into the cab of the Kenworth, and with Earl, an unsuspecting trucker, and they drove off into the night, leaving the flickering lights of Dixie Delight behind, embarking on a cross-country adventure filled with questionable life choices, close encounters, and the never-ending quest to fulfill a princess's biological imperative. The highway would never be the same. Earl almost got himself knocked up. Poor Earl. Earl's always getting fucked in these fucking stories. What's up, Derek Davies? How are you, buddy? Earl is a stud. But Earl is no Sam Smith with the Donkey fucking Kong. Randall Kennedy, thank you for a great night. I appreciate you. I wouldn't know if there's any Dogman in Coachella Valley. To be honest with you. We don't ever want the live stream to end. I know. Clint, they are the best. I gotta go and snowblow. 2:30 in the morning. My neighbors are gonna love me snowblowing. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for being fucking awesome. And what ended up happening with Victor? Victor's been dead for almost 2 years. Excuse me. Anyway, thank you once again. I appreciate every Saturday that I get to spend with you guys. You guys have been extra generous to me tonight, and I really appreciate that. I never fucking ever expect it, and I feel blessed. So thank you. And with that, I want to give you all a big hug and a spanking with a pink paddle. All right, guys. Don't have any nightmares about Sam Smith tonight, okay? And have a good night. See ya. Tommy, did you buy your membership? Because if you bought your membership, I guess you got to renew it once a month. Kakalina, how are you, dear? Yeah, that's why. Because it doesn't last forever. It's a month-long membership. All right, guys. Love ya. Have a good night, and thank you.